note that everyone is here. And join me for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we need to approve the agenda. Do we have any additions or changes? Board, Mr. Weedle? I do not. Okay, very good. All right, I'll ask for a motion. Approve. Ken first. Second. Jessica. All in favor, right hand. 7-0. All right, citizens open forum.
Well, it's just us. So
yeah.
Nobody.
I guess there's nobody out there that we don't recognize, huh? So, awesome. Okay, no recognitions or presentations. So we are on to the consent agenda. And Danelle, financial report.
For the month of February of 2022, the ending cash for the month was $5,962,047.22. Our expenditures for the month was $852,309.68. Payroll, $436,206.67. We didn't have any transfers. The warrants were $416,103.01. We had 3 checks over $10,000. First Dakota Indemnity, $34,526 is work comp. Kagan Professional Development, $10,428 is in service. City of Haven, $14,985.49 utilities.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I had a question. Did we have a claim, or is that a payment of on the work comp?
That's our work comp cost for the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
You say that's for the year?
Yeah.
Rob might remind you, we're going to be in the process of rebidding property and work comp insurance. Not until June, but that's in process.
All right, anything else? Any other questions?
Fortunate to have folks in attendance tonight. I originally said they might not be here and they couldn't stay away, so they're if you have questions for them.
Were you in the chicken costume?
I heard there were reports.
I do what I need to do.
Alright, if nothing else, then we will move on to Superintendent Report. Mr. Weedle?
A couple of items. First of all, and I'll say this with our stream running, we are planning for this to be our last streaming board meeting. Unless I hear something different from the board, we'll plan to stop this streaming. It's something we started with COVID and all the challenge we have, and just doing some checking. It looks like a lot of people have stopped it, and that's our plan to do the same. A little bit of a housing update. So talking about, we have a local attorney out of Hutchinson. It's always been John Caton. John Caton's retired, and so now I've been handed off to another attorney out of that same firm, and I talked to her on Friday, and his attorney, how important was that to us? And I said, very important. That was always our intentions, was if for some reason the housing addition fell through, we would want the property back for our use and not for city's use. I'm looking around to see if I've got heads nodding.
Yep.
That's the agreement. Okay. You know, there's some bad news in our board meeting tonight, and I want to break it to you gently. And here's the next piece. we have some weight room damage at the high school. So we built a new weight room as part of the bond. All kinds of padding on the floor, and yet we've got some concrete damage underneath that padding from where the kids have been lifting, and the weights are being dropped at the end of a lift, which isn't unusual for that to happen, but the padding hasn't served to cushion that like they thought it would. And so we pulled up some pad the other day, and there's some crumbled concrete underneath that padding. Chris isn't here tonight, but as soon as we get back from spring break, we'll be bringing in somebody to look at that. I would be very confident that's not a warranted product, especially because it happened from weights being dropped on the floor. So that's all I know. I went over and looked at it. It just happened Thursday or Friday. When we, I think our coaches found it, saw some dust coming up through the padding, and lifted it up, and yes, there's some considerable damage. It's almost like where the dumbbells hit the ground type of deal. So we got some work to do there to figure out how to resolve that. And I know the coaches have said, well, let's buy these platforms that we could put down there and would further pad it. We're going to look into solving the problem first of all before we purchase the extra platforms. But not a good thing. Feels like it's a brand new facility still, and so to have damage to it is disappointing. Lastly, you may have heard, and Ryan is your representative on our Education Foundation. I don't know if this was your report tonight.
Go ahead, you're doing fine.
We have a dinner auction that we've done for multiple years now. It's kind of our main fundraiser. The date of that is April 30th, and it's at the Sand Hills Event Center north of Hutchinson. But typically the school district purchases tickets for the board and their spouses. So we will offer that to you again. And really all you need to do is let Danelle know if you have intentions of attending on that night. But it's kind of a big district thing, and it's brought in lots of funds for our foundation. The question has come up, what is the money from the foundation used for? If you remember, we award grants to our teachers through that foundation. And so each year we do up to 10 grants at $312. This year we didn't even get we didn't get 10 applications, so we gave everybody who applied for one. The foundation also supports our employee recognition program. If you haven't seen our bulletin board, this is what we call our Impact Awards, and then we have an Employee of the Year. So each of those winners is supported with a financial reward from the foundation as well. So that's kind of how that money is spent. And obviously we've been trying to build our balance in that account for quite some years, and have been, well, Danelle and I are on it. We feel really good about the success we've had with building that account, because we do have up to $100,000 in the account now. Kind of our goal was to make it self-sustaining. So a big chunk of that money is in the Hutch Community Foundation, which they invested for us. And if we got it to the right dollar amount, it would pay us a certain dividend each year that we could use to support our spending. But we're ways from that yet. So that's my report. Questions? Oh yeah, she brought up, we just added this year because we had a request from one of the buildings to do a student assembly. And so the foundation has now agreed to budget for student assemblies and professional development to be paid for each year, a certain dollar amount. So that's another spending avenue as well. Questions? That's all I have.
All right. minutes from, let me take a deep breath, February 14th, February 15th, 16th, 18th, 24th, and 28th. It just seems like, I don't know, it seems like a lot just reading that. I don't know who did that, but anyway, they're all in your drive. Everybody okay with how those minutes looked? Yeah? Okay.
You've earned your money lately.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm fighting for a raise from 0 to 0. So, all right. And next up, we're going to hear from Ken regarding internet.
So before you start out, this is the second piece of bad news tonight. So I'll let him start and I'll add to
Teed
it.
him up great.
Yeah, way to build me up, right? No, actually, we're working on a situation between our past internet service provider and the one that we switched to this last July. There's an overlap in the contract, according to Zayo, and they hit us with another 12-month contract, even though we had switched providers and went with Idealtech. So they have been billing us up till this point, and we are going back and trying to tell them, hey, no, we did our separation clear back in March. When we worked through the bidding process, we let our account know, our representative for the company, we let them know that we chose another one, and that should have been the termination of the contract. So we're at this impasse right now, kind of working through all our available channels to try to see what we have as far as repercussion to get our money back. And we know that we do have some money coming back because one of the circuits that was still on that contract, we disconnected that thing years ago, and they've been billing us for that. So we're in the process of collecting all the information, going back through billing, trying to separate out the two circuits in question and the remaining service of the contract. But is there anything that
Well,
I'm
I'll give you
leaving out?
A couple more pieces of the puzzle. The monthly bill's about $8,400 a month that they continue to bill us. Matter of fact, the last several, I finally went to Christy and said, don't pay the bill. So I don't know if they are planning on charging us late fees, but we are not going to pay that bill. And we've now contacted KSB, and we have an attorney involved through KSB. And,
Right.
But I'm telling you, we are struggling with this, and we'll take it as far as we need to, because it's a chunk of money. You think about that, $8,400, and they expect us to pay for a year.
Well, and then early termination on the remainder of the contract, because once I figured out what was going on, I'm like, so what do I need to do then to get this stopped? And so I started the process, and it was probably, almost 30 days before they finally notified us and said...
And we still got a bill.
Yeah, and they said, well, we're going to continue to bill you, and plus, since we're stopping this from 90 days from you notifying us, we expect you to pay through the 90 days, and there's going to be an early termination on the remaining 2 months of the contract. The big issue here is that the contract date was 6/26, which would have been just right at the end of June, and all this contract was based on July 1. And so we started this process, in January? February, I submitted the quotes. March, I got notification. I reached out and to the winning bidders and the losing bidders. It's just part of the process.
When we rebid our contract.
Rebid our service for E-rate, and I even co-responded with our rep a couple times even after I notified them that we had chose a different vendor. So it's like, how come that wasn't the end of the process, But so that's what we're trying to just discern the language of the contract, the timing of the change of service, and whether or not our repped us or not. Right now, I don't feel very repped.
More like ripped.
I feel used is what it feels like. I mean, it really does, because it's like Clark's saying, you know, that kind of money per month, I could have used that in a more legitimate manner for the district than this.
Yeah.
So,
Might add, we were having a hard time putting our hands on the original contract, and we asked them to send it to us. Well, this will tell you a little something. It was a Patrick Call as the superintendent. So we're going back a lot of years here when we started in contract with this company. And that's what they're trying to hold us to, is the original terms of the contract. And yet the attorney at KSB said, I've gone through the contract with a fine-tooth comb, and I don't see where they identify exactly cancellation process. So she says, I think we got some grounds to stand on. So.
right. Yeah, it's all coming down to the four corners of that contract and the verbiage in it, you know, and then what role our representative plays in this, you know, because it was the circuit that we had that we disconnected, which, do you remember how long before all this other stuff I told you that was?
Oh, the partridge one?
Yeah. I can't remember right off the top of my head because I got so many
Over a
dates.
year.
Yeah, it was well over a year. And but we had worked through this representative, the same representative, to get that contract, or to get that circuit off the contract, which still didn't work because they never removed it. We've been paying for partridge forever. And it's like, so we know that there's some of this we're going to get back, yeah, regardless, you know, how this whole works out verbiage wise, but I want it all back, and that's where I'm at with it, and that's where I'm still fighting it right now. I sent out emails today to see if I couldn't reach the old representative because he hasn't been a part of this process at all. And basically the disassociation between the billing, the people that do contracts, the people that provide the service with this vendor is like night and day. I mean, it's all over the place to find out what channels we need to go back up through. So, but he's right, the original contract that they had on file, that goes back to actually it wasn't even the contract with Zayo, it was the contract with Dr. Call when we went with Ideal Tech. We'd switched from Two Trees as a service provider. And so that was the original contract we had with Ideal Tech when Ideal Tech then sold our part of the fiber off to Zayo. So that contract just transferred up from that.
Zayo is a company out of Colorado. They have a local contact for us out of Wichita. That's who Ken worked with when we rebid, and they bid to get our continued internet product, and we have documentation when Ken informed him that they didn't get the new bid, and that we would be going with a new contract and a new provider, which is Ideotech out of Bueller. So we have documentation of by letting this person know, but there's a big disconnect between Wichita and Colorado is what we're about to.
And then the contract and what it actually defines as the procedure we have to go through, because that's where the attorney's at, is they're like, nowhere in the contract does it say who we're supposed to go through to do this. And if it's not our rep, then who? You know, so.
So we'll keep working on it.
Yep.
It's been going on for months already, so.
Yep, and I save everything, so I probably got my original "can you start here tomorrow" email, so.
Awesome.
Is there anything, any other questions or anything that anybody might have? Maybe I might have left out.
All right. Thank you,
Okay,
Ken.
well, do vote me in at the bottom.
Oh, okay. Well, let you know. You have like a song and dance prepared, or no? Okay. All right, we'll move on to resignations. Those names are listed below, and letters are in your drive.
Just a comment, and you see Tara Cooprider, but you might also see she's on to be approved for another job, so she's just moving. we have full intentions of asking you to do that, so wanted to be clear on that. The other one's our virtual teacher, and if you remember, we've made that job, we went from half-time to full-time, so she wasn't interested in full-time. That's why you have those two.
All right. No other comments or anything? Then we'll be looking to make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Anyone?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
All right, Jessica's our first. Daniel's our second. All in favor? 7-0. All right, now we will move on to our action discussion items. And number 1 on the list is consideration to move 6th grade from HGS to HMS.
So we started this conversation last month, and in your drive you have a folder called 6th grade move considerations. Found out you might have had a hard time seeing the survey results, maybe from the parents, but not the, if you know, just know what you're looking at. 6th grade survey is staff members. So we sent that to staff members at the grade school and the middle school, and even some support staff. And then parent 6th grade survey was 4th grade and 5th grade, so it would have been the next 2 years that would have been affected by it. And then also you have a schedule that Mr. Atherton put together, and maybe where those rooms might be. And obviously there was lots of input that we got. I think you guys maybe got more than I did by email. But what I've learned, just to simplify things a little bit, is that people are all over the place on this. There's not a clear-cut. When I looked at the 20 responses of the 6th grade survey, and I saw 60 yes and 20, 10 and 10, 20 responses and 10 and 10. I thought, whoa, it's not quite what you're looking for in a survey, but it is reality. So.
Was that the parent survey or the teacher survey? I still can't see it.
That was the teacher survey. This one is called 6th grade survey. The parent survey was really close. It looks like it's 1 away from being 50-50. It showed 48.5 that said no, we shouldn't move 6th grade, and 51.5 that said yes, we should. I don't know if I should try to read things into this, but at least from the staff, I got the feeling that the middle school was maybe more open to it than the grade school was. I can't help but bridge over to the next agenda item a little bit, because these kind of go together. So that next agenda item talks about staffing levels, and if you can see, that has a proposal to add another 6th grade section for next year. So what that would mean is gaining 2 classrooms if 6th grade's at the grade school, and then we got to come up with 3 classrooms if 6th grade is at the middle school. I'd still love to hear your thoughts on this, but I can tell you there are some challenges with the middle school coming up with 3 new classrooms. We'd almost have to go down the hall and get them from the high school area. Not that they would be 6th grade, but could be junior high.
I've heard a bunch from both sides. I think we're rushing this decision a little bit. I think maybe we should step back and keep looking further here before we make any drastic changes. Just from, I've heard, like you said, yes on some, no on some, both back and forth. Everybody's had good ideas, bad ideas, but I mean, just talking to teachers and parents both, I think maybe we should just slow down for a year, see what happens.
Do we feel good about the space at the grade school with 3 sections of 6th?
You know, we got to go get 2 more classrooms, and that plan would be the art room, and clear down in the north end there's a sped room, And so those would be the two classrooms that we would claim as, one would be 4th grade and one would be 6th grade. So that's adding a 4th grade section and a 6th grade section. Of course, that means the art room would probably move up front, kind of with the teacher's lounge is now. And then the SPED classroom would have to move up with the other SPED classroom where it is existing right now. And if you remember, we built a wall.
It used to be that way too.
Yeah, it's got a wall in between a regular sized classroom.
My question is, why are we so opposed to moving like the 6th grade to Yoder, where we got a building that's about empty and seems like we have a lot of room, but now we're trying to figure out how do we juggle at the grade school to make enough room for the high school. Oh, well, if we do that, then we're infringing on this. We're complaining about a building running inefficient. Why are we so opposed to moving a grade over there?
So you're talking about moving all 6th graders over there?
I'm just asking, why are we so opposed to that when we're saying
Yeah.
one building is running inefficient?
Yeah, I would say, I'm going to try to answer that. I don't know if I've been asked that question before, but I would assume that would mean 3 classrooms of 6th graders over there. It would take a little work to get 3 classrooms. Do you eliminate the other kids that are over there to get those 3 classrooms? Do you have?
Well, that's kind of one of the reasons I think we should wait a little while before we discuss both schools. What we're going to do with Yoder, we're going to let that program keep going for a while, the new ag program get started. I mean, if we do something with there, that would change the dynamics of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that, that's why I'm saying I don't know if we should rush into this whole decision of moving everything by the end of this year, until we decide fully what we're going to do with all the schools. I mean, that what we're there to do.
Yeah, I would say those are definitely smaller classrooms at Yoder. So to put, I think the new plan with 3 sections of 6th grade makes it 19 in a class, maybe. So, yeah, maybe that's the answer is we don't know what to do with the building at Yoder yet.
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about that when the first, someone else had brought up, and, I guess, do you then, I gotta be curious to know what our parent base might say with, okay, K-5, you go to the grade school, and 6th, you go to Yoder, and 7th, you come back to the middle
It's a
school.
lot of transition.
Yeah, I could see there'd be some challenges with that.
Like go K4.
Say
Not
like
probably
an
go K4 and then 5th, 6th,
intermediate.
Yoder. Come out.
But I think I'm with Ryan too. We need to figure out what's happening with Yoder first in some ways. Because if that thing all of a sudden mushrooms, then we still got a problem with space. Then we have to look at what we're going to do then. But I'm just saying, if it keeps on dwindling and the Amish pull totally out, well, then that opens up a completely different door of what we can do and what we can do or not do.
I'm assuming we could put a temporary over here, couldn't we, if we had to? Just do it all the time.
Modulars.
I would still say, when you think about a makeup of a middle school, 6-8 is I'm saying more of a traditional makeup than what we currently have. I don't mean it works for us, but I'm going to say across the state, I think you would see more middle schools at 6-8 than you would.
There were a lot of people that said they know that's traditional, and they're not opposed to any of that. They're just wanting to see
And there are
how we got to that.
intermediate schools too.
Yeah, more thinking what
4 to
we
5, 6.
find them over there. Real quick.
Just depends on the buildings.
Yeah.
Depends on the district. I mean, the smaller 2 1A schools, yeah, you got 6th through 8 as middle school. Just to get the students there.
But I agree with Ryan. I think more time to research and plan without jumping in.
I would agree with
I-
that.
This is, I want to share this as, I have no fight in this. I mean, as you guys know, I'm in my last few months, so it makes it tough for me to bring some. This came to this table a few years ago as well, so it's not a new concept. So I think there's going to be a year where it may be needed. And obviously, it all depends on what your present situation is. You know, you think about who we surveyed, they're the ones with kids that are going to be the most impacted by it. So.
All right, so we're,
Want me to move on to staffing levels?
oh, sure, yeah, I didn't know how much we, yeah, I guess I have a little more to say about that.
So, no action on number 1, but 2 is staffing levels, and this is one that we really do need to take action on it because it makes a difference who all we hire or who we consider for hiring. And so you have a document in your drive that's called certified staffing levels for 22-23. And so you can see the proposal takes 2 teaching positions from Yoder and really moves them to Haven Grade. So it takes 2 from Yoder, moves 2 at Haven Grade, if you're wondering where they come from. So at Yoder, the K1, that's Laura White, who is currently an ESL coordinator. So she's not teaching a classroom setting. So that puts her, if you remember, our kindergarten teacher is retiring at the end of the year, so that puts her in that position. The other one is our current 5th and 6th grade teacher out there is Maddie Hodgson. And as you can see, if you go up to Haven Grade, that puts her in 6th grade at Haven Grade. So that's kind of where the 2 disappear from and where they go. So really that keeps, really only makes one section where we have 3 grades together at Yoder. That was something that there has been some concern expressed about, that numbers still would be good out there, and yet it does allow us to have an extra 4th grade and an extra 6th grade. Yeah, if you remember, really, I've highlighted in there, Zaylin Foth is a current 1st grade teacher at Haven Grade. And so when we last month approved an extra position at Haven Grade, that would be 4th grade because of the numbers. And she would like to move there. Typically when we have openings, we put them out in-house first just to see if somebody wants to move. Laura and I remembered when we hired her that she really wanted older kids. We started her at 1st grade because that's all we had for her, and then she was interested in moving up. So that really takes a 1st grade teacher and moves them to 4th grade. It takes a Yoder teacher and moves them to 6th grade. And then you can see that would leave an opening at 1st grade. And then Braden Allen is on your list to be approved as a new teacher that Laurel and I had interviewed at Emporia State's interview day. The only other difference, you can see some openings there, but if you go down to the high school, you'll see language arts / virtual. That would be Mindy Barter. I might remind you, we're really just talking about staffing levels. So we're not actually hiring these people. We're just determining how many licensed teaching staff. And then if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you see the virtual program with Mindy becoming that other half of the virtual program with high school language arts. Did I make that clear of what the recommendation for staffing is?
What did you mean when you said you're not actually hiring these people?
Well,
We're not
obviously,
approving them?
Obviously, the new people, the answer is yes.
Oh,
But from hiring all the teachers, we typically don't do that until May.
I see.
But we need to know how many
I gotcha, okay.
we can hire, and that's why we always start with a staffing level first. So if you were to agree with this, you would be making a motion to approve the staffing levels, not necessarily a person. The contracts are another item down below.
I see what you mean. Yep.
All right, everybody feel okay about that?
I got one question.
Okay.
Clark, would you mind talking a little bit, we talked a little bit last meeting about the K through 2, 3 through 5, 6 through 8 option at Yoder and kind of why we went this route instead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to that document, that's in your drive to Yoder Charter considerations. If you, and I'm gonna try to recollect how that went down. So last month, we talked about giving the ag charter a chance. And so when I go back to that February 2022 document, Yoder Charter considerations, I just said, here's some considerations for the next few years. And so I wanted to start with consideration of adjusting staffing levels, but to hold off on the extremeness of going to 3 grades until we gave it a year. Whether that's a year or 2, I don't know.
I had a question also in that area. For the music PE, is that a full position? Like one person serves?
At Yoder?
Yeah.
Music, band, and PE.
Music
The history of that is when we closed Partridge, that person was out at Partridge and Yoder, and to create a full-time position, we added PE as into that one as well.
And that person doesn't travel anywhere else?
Correct, just at Yoder.
All right, anything else?
How do we know if we can afford this?
Well-
This is a question with me being new to the board.
Yeah, negotiations is coming next.
Right, that's kind of why I'm asking.
And so currently, our staffing level increase is a half-time. The half-time language arts position, because this is a wash, 2 out, 2 in. So our staffing level is really only up 0.5 at this point, which, I don't know if you remember the negotiations document I gave you last time, but it was, we estimated that at $25,000 to add a half-time position. It's just a guess at this point.
So you at least feel pretty good about where we're at right now?
Depends on negotiations.
It makes me a little bit nervous, but this is my first time doing this, so.
Can we wait to approve this until we talk about negotiation?
You mean yet tonight? Yeah, we have to know
Yes,
this tonight,
yeah.
so we know who to hire. You can. Am I gonna be able to tell you much about negotiations? Not much more than I did last month,
Okay.
because there's so many unknowns at this time. We don't know what our CEC is gonna do. We don't know what health insurance is gonna do. We do know what our extra funding from the state would be, and I shared that. Well, that was part of the executive session last time. But sure, I mean, we could go back to executive session and come back to this.
I wouldn't mind that, just, I feel better about it.
Okay. Anybody else? I mean, hold off and we'll vote after executive session on this. Everybody okay with that? So do we just move on and not take action?
Just because I'm not sure on this, why don't we make a motion to move number 2
Okay.
after executive session?
Okay. All right, well, I'd like to make a motion to move district staffing levels to after our executive session. Our agenda item.
Make a motion.
Darby will make that motion. Ken will second that motion. All in favor, right hand. 7-0. Okay, now we will, speaking of executive session, we'll go into executive session. And we're gonna separate these out? So we'll do.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
let's do the negotiations one now.
Okay. I will read that motion. I move the board recess to executive session to discuss issues related to the teacher's contract under the exception of employee-employer negotiations under KLMA. The open meeting shall resume at 7:42. Include the board and Mr. Weedle.
Well,
Need
7:42 is
6:42.
new.
Oh,
It was right.
sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
This time.
6:52.
Yeah.
Sorry, that is the current time. I apologize.
Alright, 7 for that.
I was like, well,
Thank you.
getting information.
Yeah, that's gonna be quick. All right. So,
Second, I
Okay.
don't know if somebody said
I was
that or not.
first.
Said first?
I read it as the first.
Okay.
Jessica second. All in favor? 7-0. Sorry. right, so we need to go back to item number 2 and vote on district staffing levels. So we're just looking for a motion to approve staffing levels for 22-23 school year.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Ken first,
I'll say.
Paul second. All in favor, right hand. 7-0. Alright, now we skip down to the disposal of an ag truck.
I don't know if any of you have seen the little blue truck that sits kind of back by the shop area. I've never seen it run. I've heard rumor that it belongs to the ag program, that they purchased it. In other words, they'd like to dispose of it. The question is, where's the money go? I don't know enough about the history of it to know how it was purchased, but I think it's on our transportation department inventory.
It is.
It is.
So,
Crown jewel.
I've never seen it move, and I've been here 15 years, so I don't know. I don't know how it was purchased. There's no record of it that I can find.
So what you're saying is gonna cost us to get it moved out of this?
no, we'll, if you guys take action to dispose of it, then we'll determine how
You could auction it off, that's our.
it gets sold.
There you go.
Value to some
Well,
on this.
I'll just add that the FFA would like to use that money to purchase something, some form of new transportation that they can use at the farm. Whether that be a side-by-side, whether that be a little four-wheeler or something, I don't know.
And what would they do with it at the farm?
That's what they told me.
They
they'd
don't,
like
they
to
don't
use.
farm anything out there.
I know. So,
Thank you.
I believe that truck ran when Kevin was a senior. They had it out at the farm.
Oh, did they?
They did.
So it
I
did
should get
run.
rid of it
It
first
did.
and then figure out if
It
anything.
did run.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's really what the agenda item is for, your approval to dispose of it, which means we'll figure out how to sell it if it's got any value to it.
Alright, we all good on that?
I will make a motion to dispose of the ag truck.
Okay, Jessica's first, Ryan second. All in favor, right hand. 7-0. Alright, next up, item number 6, consideration of director renewals.
So you can see those listed down below. So that's our food service / transportation. Cherie has been filling that role and would like to stay on doing both of those roles. Chris Rohr in maintenance, Ken Lacoste in technology, Donnell as the business manager. Typically before I bring those to you, I do evaluations on them and have completed those. And it is my recommendation that we hire those back for a contract for next year.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Paul makes a motion. Ken second. All in favor? 7-0. And next, item 7, approval of contracts and work agreements.
So you can see contracts listed below there. I'll just highlight a few of those. There's Becky King, and that was the ag coordinator out at Yoder. And obviously, we won't be paying that bill. That was part of the donation that will cover that. Braden Allen is a brand new teacher out of Emporia State that would become a second grade teacher for us. You see Noah Kroll's name, a local person who will become our industrial arts teacher at the high school. And then Jared as the new high school principal. And of course Tara Cooprider that I mentioned earlier that had resigned from counselor but would like to become moved back to where she was previously to language arts at the high school. Questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the contracts and work agreements as presented.
I'll go first. Daniel second. All in favor? 7-0. we'll move on to reports. And first up is Darby, our CEC.
I don't have anything new to share.
Okay. All right, second is transportation, so Cherie.
Presents. Okay, on first page, I have supplied you with the mileage chart for, that was from June of this year to the 11th of March. Some of them are blank. Those are vehicles that we have currently out for maintenance. We have 3 vehicles out for maintenance. B37, which the nickname is the dog, is at Foley waiting on our particulate filter. It's coming from Japan. It's been there since mid-January. We don't know when it's coming back. We can't move it. They pulled it out. This filter had been cracked a couple years ago. They knew it. They were going to ride it as long as they can because it's a $3,000 part. And we're waiting on that part to come in. It's my recommendation that B37, when it gets fixed, goes on Purple Wave. It has cost us, since I've been here, over $10,000. And it's pretty high in mileage. If you see on the list, 174,744 miles. I think we seriously should consider B37 going away. B48 is at Cummings now for a catalytic reduction system, systems update, computer chip, waiting on parts from Japan. B40 is at Foley. It's got a coolant leak off the turbo. They don't have a current ETA because they are so backed up with other buses. They're having a hard time getting to our bus. My recommendation for disposal, one is B37. The other bus is M17. If you look down where it's highlighted, M17 has not moved 1 mile in the last year. It is a very old bus. It's got a lot of mileage on it and it leaks when it rains. So it's my recommendation that M17 goes to Purple Wave and we get rid of it. It is a handicap bus, has a wheelchair lift in it, but we don't use it. It's old, it doesn't work well, it leaks when it rains. I think we can get rid of that bus. Any questions on that part of the report? I still have the International.
Which one is that? Yeah.
The International
Yeah.
is 47 is the International. It's fixed. Nobody likes to drive it, but you've heard that before. It's different. It's just a different bus. The setup of the bus is very different. All the switches are in a different place. The emergency systems are all, it's just a different bus. I mean, it's not a Bluebird. And the drivers, it's not a favorite, but it actually, I've driven it. It drives really well. It's lower in mileage. I think we should keep it. We do have some older buses, such as 22. We still have 2 years before we have to get rid of it. It's got 210,000 miles on it, runs like a dream. Leroy drives that bus. He's been driving that bus a long time. He doesn't want to get rid of it yet. If it's going to keep Leroy driving, we're going to keep a bus that's not breaking down.
37, was that a short bus?
Is it what? I'm
Is
sorry.
it a short one? One of the short
It's one of
ones?
the shorter buses. Yeah. Yep. It is. We still have a lot of buses sitting out there. I think if you ever drive by one, we have routes going. It looks like we don't have routes going because we have a lot of buses. I'm trying to learn more about the routes. Hopefully next year I'll be a little more organized and ready to probably recommend getting rid of maybe a couple more. But we just, our inventory is just way too high when it comes to route buses. And some of these older buses, the sped buses, they purchased 2 short buses, 2 mini buses this year. I probably would not have done that, but it was done before I got here, so. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, the next thing you see in your packet is this very beautiful bus, and this is an activity bus. Clark asked me to come up with a recommendation to purchase a bus this year. After just saying that we have so many buses, what we don't have is a dedicated activity bus. All our activity buses have driven on routes. I'm sure you all know what the roads are like out here. They're very hard on buses. Activity buses take a beating, and then when you get them out on activities, sometimes you have problems. This bus here is through Kansas Truck. It would be an all-white bus. It would have bucket seats, 44 bucket seats. You see the design on the outside. It would not have a stop arm. It would not have stoplights. It would only be a dedicated activity route. It will never go out on country roads, hopefully. The price, if you go through the back 3-4 pages, the base price of the bus is $92,086, which starts out as the lowest bid. And on the very back page, without the decals, or actually it'll probably end up being paint, it comes to $112,950. That would be from Kansas Truck. The graphics, today I talked to the gentleman that's in charge of the graphics, and he said he's looking at $5,000 for the graphics for the bus.
Air conditioning?
Oh yes, very good air conditioning, upgraded engine. I believe we need a dedicated activity bus. I think having an activity bus that looks like this and not a big yellow school bus, I think it's good for morale. I think the kids would be excited about it, and I'm always for the kids being excited about something. So, any questions?
They'd be excited until they had to determine who got to use it.
Well, they would fight over it, and we would have to rotate. We would have to have it on a rotating schedule, girls, boys. We would definitely do that. But I do recommend that we purchase this activity bus.
Did they only have a 6-speed transmission? Was that the only thing?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have a 10-speed?
No, not on the little bus. On the flat nose, they do. However, you do not fit any more students on flat nose than you do on that box front. It's 44 passenger either way.
Was a bus purchase in our budget for this year?
I believe.
We're not taking action tonight.
Oh, is that a no?
Well, you asked for this year. Our past practice has been to purchase it and extend it to the next year, put it in the next budget year. I would like to determine if that could fit into this budget year before we have a new superintendent and has to deal with moving it from one budget year to the next. So I'll bring this back in August or in April with a listing of capital outlay budgets and how it would fit into that.
And if we do get it approved and ordered in April, we will have it by December.
Quick.
Yep. Any questions? Any questions about transportation?
You can have underneath storage
Yes.
compartments, because I did see the drawing on here.
Yes. It comes standard with underneath storage on the right side, not on the
Yeah.
left side.
I think maybe that's supposed to be
We have more than 44 football players.
No.
Yeah, we did this last year.
Well, yeah, but I didn't think that they all traveled.
No, they all go.
Together.
They all go.
Well, 44 is all it's
We were
gonna fit.
taking a van, Suburban, and bus this year.
We're gonna need two of them.
Might have to
Yeah,
have us.
let's get two. Let's get two.
We don't have to worry about it next football season.
Maybe they'll give us a
Won't
discount.
be here till December.
Yeah, they
For
would.
two?
Yeah. 44 seats with the bucket seats. They're upgraded bucket seats. That's the most. Yeah, that's the most you can fit in because that was the one thing.
I wrote on anything?
One thing the coaches said was the bench seats are so uncomfortable, and they are. If you have to drive an hour, 2 hours, those bench seats with those big boys are awful. Yes, they are. But so am I. So I like the bucket seats too.
I don't know how that works.
What's that?
Well, we
Appreciate-
were just looking,
Says you're deleting the left side luggage storage.
The left side we
so
did.
it's on the right.
It's on the right
Why
side.
did you do that?
Cost,
What
pretty
was-
much.
What was the cost difference in
I'd
having,
have to look it up, I don't recall.
$864.
I think you should have it on both
I would
sides.
put it on both
You might
sides.
save that in van traffic, carrying extra stuff, didn't fit on the bus.
We could add it back in.
I'd put it back.
Okay.
Even if you put it back in, you're still cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, 800 and some bucks isn't that, if you were talking 8 grand, then,
Yeah.
but I do appreciate that you went with a larger engine, because that is just, I hate fighting,
To get on the highway.
yeah,
Yeah, we have a
Or-
couple buses like that.
wind,
Yeah.
tell the students to get out first, so you
There was a lot of bells and whistles that we could have had that I did not select because of cost. The left side storage was one of them. I can definitely add it in for $800.
I'd like to see that, yeah.
some of the rest of you,
You can throw your football team over there,
I think you need that underneath storage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
They got one about 10 foot longer.
If we had a flat nose bus, which is technically a longer bus, it would still only be 44 seats.
Yeah, the stud noses will get you. When you're just right up there looking at the headlight as you're going down the road.
They will have USB ports, which I know.
Air conditioned and all that.
Mhm.
No, that is,
Of course we
But
did.
you know, if you're not going to run this bus on a route, first off, route buses get tore up. The route kids are rowdy anyways. The roads are terrible. This bus could last for a very long
How
time.
many miles do they run? Would this bus run, you think, a year?
In a year,
I mean,
but you have an activity bus on here, don't you?
we have a couple that are earmarked activity. We have moved one onto a regular route. In fact, I would like to take another one, move it onto a regular route once we just start talking about getting rid of some of the older buses. But they're not dedicated activity buses. We do use them on routes on occasion.
When you get a white bus, they may not be used on routes.
No, you cannot use a white bus on, it has to be a yellow bus to be on a route. It has to have, it will not have 8-way stop lights, it will not have stop signs, any of that.
Just out of craziness. What would happen if we take one of the newest bus that we have out there, make it an activity bus, paint it white, and put bucket seats in? I wonder what that would,
It'd probably cost about the same.
think so.
I don't think it'd be any cheaper.
Yeah, it's
Stuck in
cheap.
Japan.
Get your habit to go in there and weld seats.
If you're looking at,
We wouldn't have our storage.
if you're looking at the fleet, we are looking at quite a few that have a good amount of miles on us.
And they're old, the ones up here are
Yeah,
old.
they're always out on the highway.
Those are-
They're nice
Other
buses.
issues that need replaced.
Yeah.
Could you, for next board meeting, give us the year model of those, or how much time we got left on them?
Sure,
Would you please?
definitely. I could probably get that before the end of the night. I actually have a list of it with all the years on it.
Okay,
So I'll do that.
that'd be good.
Any more questions?
Thanks.
Anything else?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sheree. Okay. All right, we move into board member reports. We'll start over here with Daniel. You have anything for us?
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay. Ken?
Nothing.
Nothing? Paul? Okay. All right.
Does
And
that mean I get another report?
You usually take one anyway.
yeah.
Now we're gonna adjourn.
Carry on. No.
Okay. All right. And Danelle.
I've got more for Ken. There's a online negotiations training.
Okay,
Are you interested or not?
what date?
Well, it's on demand, so it looks like you can do it whenever you want.
He'll do it.
Ken,
He's all in.
you know,
Do you have to
you
take
being a
test?
negotiator, you should have training. But one of my ideas is just the three of us to get together, because we can train you.
Okay,
So if you want to do that, that'd be great, but if you want to just, like when we have our first negotiation session, if you want to come in a little early, Jessica and I each have a booklet.
okay, I'm gonna reverse it. What do you guys want me to do?
I'm fine with us just training you.
Okay,
All right.
we got our
Top
answer.
of the line training right here. So.
That's
Maybe
for
a little
level-
tougher than RCEC was.
Were you on the negotiations?
Huh?
Were you on negotiations?
Okay. Next board meeting scheduled for April 11th, 6 p.m. here at district office. And I think this is Ken's favorite part. First to adjourn. Daniel second to adjourn. All in favor? Right hand 7-0. 8 o'clock on the dot.
Might check out your little flyer that.
Oh yeah, this was good.
Yeah.
They're,
Nice
Don't think these
paper.
kids go to Yoder though.
Don't forget. there's a slew.
they're working hard at it out there.
There's
They're
the
excited
taxes that you
about
get.
the
Don't look
opportunity.
like
So Mr. Atherton's famous now in the Hutchinson News, so.
We never determined if that was me or not.
It said, and I read the
Not very
article.
diverse either.
It said,
I shared you on Facebook.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we should have put it on the projector at the beginning of the meeting, just,
Well, I got it out in the car, I can just.
that would have been easy. That would have really
Wearing
been
it.
next
I
level.
should have
what the heck?
Did
Don't
you just
forget
have
to let-
that at home?
Let Danelle know if you'd like to attend the dinner auction. Ryan, there are raisins.
2 seconds, probably go.
Yes, you should probably go.
I'd like to add something to the agenda.